Play that funky music, Kaiser.
And
But why, some say, the moon? Why choose this as our goal? And they may well ask, why climb the highest mountain? Why, 35 years ago, fly the Atlantic? We choose to go to the moon. We choose to go to the moon in this decade and do the other thing. Not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills. Because that challenge is one that we're willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one we intend to win. We choose to go to the moon.
Welcome, 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 everybody, to the World Blockchain Roundtable. I am your host today, a.k.a. William, a.k.a. I am for I am, and a.k.a. the Emperor of the Dindao. How's that? So, known by all other things. We are joined today by the Legacy Right, none other than Zach and Andrew. Good morning, gentlemen.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. Sorry for the late start, everybody. We had a little bit of technical glitch, but we got through it. And hopefully Greg will join us and Satoshi Sean. I know Joe and Lisa have other pressing items to attend to at this time. So, but last week's show was a good one. It was the 5th anniversary show, and we also talked about the future of DAOs. And because this is a DAO-based podcast, it was just perfect. And 5 years of the World Blockchain Roundtable, episode 260, a weekly broadcast every Thursday. How about that? It was a good show, wasn't it?
Hey. I enjoyed it.
Me too. And this week, we're going to do chat questions only. But before we do that, a couple other quick business items. Let me bring this. So as you can see, it's going to be chat questions only. And we, as the panel, will determine if we're going to answer or not. And there's a disclaimer. Dun, dun, dun. Always the lawyers are involved in everything. So Greg. I must read this. As protection for World Blockchain Roundtable and protecting the panelists and protecting the audience. Note, no financial, investment, legal, tax, or professional advice is provided on this show or podcast. All statement, opinions, and information shared by panelists are for educational and entertainment purposes only and represent their personal views at any time of recording. Panelists are not liable for any losses, damages, or decisions made based on the content. Listeners and viewers must conduct their own thorough research and consult qualified professionals before taking any action. Each panelist reserves the right to revise, extend, and update their remarks at any time, and this show assumes no responsibility for the accuracy or completeness of the information presented. There we go.
Dun, dun, dun.
So now the lawyers have spoken. So please, what all that really just means is we're not your daddy. So do your own research.
Or maybe we are.
We have the right to revise and extend our remarks, as well as our seed, I guess. All right. So anyway, but there is another item of business I'd like to talk about. For the month of June, we have some voting to do. These are the proposed topics or themes for the month of June. The blockchain against war. Can blockchain really stop war? Interesting. Asset acquisition and protection using blockchain. I think of tokenized assets, right? Blockchain for financial freedom. Oh my gosh. we're going to have to read that disclaimer for that one again. NFTs meet generative AI. That would be pretty good. Pretty good. I already voted. Look at that. Blockchain time machine. What would you change? Now, it's a blockchain time machine, so it's not like you can go back to, say, pre-blockchain and just, this time machine, if this one gets voted in and is elected, this time machine will only go back within, it has a limited reach. Oh, that sounds like X, right? Free speech, limited reach. So, anyway.
I'd go back to 2009.
There you go. 17 years of Bitcoin. What have we learned?
The Satoshi Nakamoto is a Fed.
Maybe. Only one panelist answers correctly and must go first. That's
interesting.
That would be interesting. So then everybody after them is just going to, lie and I guess tell that the panelists why they're wrong. It could be fun. Could be fun. Here you go, Zach. It kind of goes back to our blockchain time machine. What role did Epstein play in Bitcoin's development and adoption?
Quite a lot.
Block years and a few others. It's changed. There's a knock at the door. Should we let them in? Who could it be?
It's Satoshi Sean. No, it's Greg.
Great.
Hey, welcome in.
How's it going?
We are just talking about the themes for the month of June. I've actually already voted for blockchain time machine, so that might be fun.
Cool.
What role did Epstein play in Bitcoin's development and adoption? That would be good. Next one, decentralized AI, blockchain as a trusted layer for models, data, and compute. Ooh,
that would be a good one. That would be an interesting one to do.
So we have votes to cast, gentlemen. Anyone out there who is has a lot in the layer, layer ownership tokens on dim.social for the layer called World Blockchain Roundtable. A layer is just a category, kind of like how you have subreddits or something. But anyway, so for the month of June, get out there and vote. It ends Sunday, I think. So there you go. There you go. We're looking at month of June already, and I think there's some really good themes.
Agreed.
But you missed it, Greg. I had this big long disclaimer I read, to protect the panelists and the watchers and listeners of the podcast. Basically do your own research, because who knows what we're going to say.
That's true.
Condition and terms apply. See podcast for details.
That's right.
Yep.
That's right. But so this week, now I have to clarify this. Chat questions only mean that it's going to be within the comments today, and we as panelists get to select which comments that we're going to bring up and answer. One, and two, just because you've commented on YouTube in the chat, you're not going to receive layer ownership tokens. I have to let you know, because it is a rule-based podcast DAO, and the DAO states, and it's been elected as into law, shall we say, into the smart contract, that only questions that are posted on World Blockchain Roundtable's layer under the question receive lot or their ownership tokens. And just so you know, one more thing. Last week's show, like we were saying, was really good. It was the future of DAOs, but more importantly, it was, I think, it was about the 5-year anniversary. So each host last week received 47 lot, and each topic contributor last week received 83 lot. And remember, their ownership tokens provide perpetual passive income, free edits, and governance votes. So it allows you to vote on like themes for the following one. All right. So there you have it. This ought to be good. It's chat questions only. Is there any other information or news any of you would like to bring up? And by the way, don't you like that? Where it's like more balanced.
It is balanced.
Yeah, I like this.
Balance is key.
We have Zach the monk with his, or the friar with his hoodie. I like it.
I believe it's a friar since I'm out in the world.
You're out in the world. Okay.
Man of the people.
Man
Which
of-
people?
And
We'll
Andrew's
figure
a
that out
monk.
later.
Yeah.
Now, I
I'm
will
just
say,
bald.
by the way, for everyone watching, just so you know, this is a live broadcast, a live, and so there might be some things that we can't say like on YouTube and get this channel banned or something. But other than that, really, there is in the rules here. It says chat questions only, from blockchain to current events. So no, you're not going to be able to ask what my social security number is or my phone number or anything like that.
What's your social security number?
No, see, it's not going to work.
Mine's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
There you go. There you go. Wow.
Thanks.
We all have the same one.
Technically, questions from us don't count anyway. So you can just ignore that one. Zach, you have to type it in the comments.
That's right. So anyway, I just want to let the chat know that really, I think I don't think I'm not opposed to any questions that are related. If there's science related, if there's how do I repair my lawnmower, I don't care. This is a blockchain show, so you might want to take advantage of talking to folks who have surrounded their lives and dug deep into the blockchain space.
Yep.
But
sponge maintenance questions are not off limits.
What's that, Greg?
Sponge maintenance questions are nonetheless not off limits. A dry sponge is a happy sponge.
Oh my gosh. All right. So let me look at what we have in comments so far.
Ooh, what number should I pick for Mega Millions Lotto? It's a good question.
Say hello. Hello.
Okay, I am.
To who?
What number should I pick for Mega Millions Lotto? Okay.
I'm gonna have my AI. I'm gonna have my AI pick it out.
Oh, you're gonna have yeah. That would be.
I've got a good estimator AI that's good at making guesses at numbers that are plausible, even though all it does is make guesses at well-formed lottery number chains.
Sure, why not?
So this is no better than any generator, but
right.
Let's see what happens.
I think that's a great place to start.
Okay, so let's see. ChatGPT says when I open the chronotopology project and force it to use that reference frame.
There you go. While you're doing that, I'm going to bring up another quick comment. So yesterday, I had a kind of an interesting conversation with an AI. And the question I asked AI was, have you heard of the umbrella promise and what is it? And it did. It was very well versed in its white paper. I thought that was very interesting. And so I asked a series of questions in regards to that concept or that idea. And it's been on my mind lately after the Massey vote in Kentucky. And I had someone else reach out to me and ask me to, you really should do something about that. Anyway, so I thought I would share that. So I would think that just about any AI could probably give you a base level or maybe above average understanding of the umbrella promise and the white paper. How can blockchain be used to make state lotteries worth the pattern? Oh, come on. We're not going to make blockchain into a pattern for lotteries. Divide up the winnings by,
the pattern to win.
But how can we use the blockchain to win the lottery?
See, that means that it's very you're making it. What shall I say?
Okay, here we go.
All right,
I got your numbers for you.
All right, hold on. All right, just a second. I got an idea here.
I will use them too.
I'm going to put them on the screen, but don't tell them. Don't tell me yet what they are. Okay, hold on. Hang on. I'm going to share a different window. Okay, Greg, tell me the numbers.
Oh, hang on. Hang on one second. I'm on a different screen now. Thanks. Done.
Now, again, explain to the audience. What you did was you used an AI with a higher math probability for these numbers, correct?
Well, what I did was
you got to keep it simple for the audience. There's some people
the math we're using to get to this estimate employs Fisher information geometry to get a distance between a plausible prediction and just a valid one, annealing the set to more likely to appear sequences of numbers. Now, that said, your odds don't improve all that much because there is a certain degree of indistinguishability baked into reality that prevents us from seeing all the possibilities very clearly. So with that said, your Fisher information geometry derived numbers are 13, 21, 34, 47, that would be 47, and 68, with the mega ball being 8.
Hold on here. I'm going to put it on the screen for everyone to see. And
everyone go and play these numbers.
The mega ball number is 8, you said?
No, really, play them. Yep. See what happens. It's only what, $2?
There you go, everybody. Are those the numbers? Are those the correct numbers, Greg?
They could be.
No, I'm sorry, from what your system generated.
They are certainly in a smaller set that is more likely to be valid than any other random guess that you might make just naively. That's the most I can say for them.
There we go. Maybe this is how Jeffrey Epstein won a lotto. He won a mega lotto, $30-something million, right?
Well, one time with the same mechanisms, I did try to reassemble a simulation of the actual machines that they use because they do publish the tolerances for those, like the engineering limits on them publicly, very, very precisely. So you can build a faithful simulator that guesses at valid lottery numbers, but you still can't make it guess ones that the same machines that they're using would guess, because that would just not work in physical reality. So you can perfectly predict a local simulation, but you cannot perfectly predict a non-local simulation.
So are these Powerball numbers?
No, these would be Mega Millions.
Mega Millions. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. All right. So in case the audience cannot see the screen, I'm going to repeat these numbers. 13, 21, 34, 47, 68, and the Powerball number is 8. There you go. So, well, that will be interesting if that hits. Do you realize what will happen with the show and with you, Greg?
Right? If that hits, then yeah, we'll be everybody's favorite place to go for guesses.
Yeah. All right. I like to thank this Buckeye Zach 89 for that question. Thank you, Buckeye Zach. Yeah, whoever you might be, it's just coincidental that we have a panelist by the name Zach.
That is weird. Sounds like it's weird.
Hey, he has another question.
What was this? How can blockchain be used to make state lotteries worth the pattern to win? I don't understand this question. Zach, do you have any idea or insight as to what this person is trying to ask?
I have no clue. I think he might be retarded.
Oh no. All right, well, we will skip that one because if everyone had the numbers, then the lotto would be split evenly amongst everybody.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to make any sense. Yeah. All right, but we have a different question from the same character. I don't know who this is, but this Buckeye Zach 89 asks, what exactly is the point of the lottery? Did government just beat out the mobs so they could move in on the numbers game?
The answer is yes.
Yes, and there's two questions. That's only one. Yeah. Is your yes to the first question or yes to the second question?
To the second question. I think it's a yes.
A yes is the government moved in, huh?
Yeah.
I think the point of it is to convince people to gamble with the wonderful dynamics of gambling in a way that provides tax revenue for states.
Yep.
And the government did not, in fact, beat out the mob in one respect, but they did in another, because they outlawed other people setting up casinos under most circumstances, and then they set one up themselves. So yeah, they did want to move on the game, move in on the game and take it over in a way. Now that said, I don't think lotteries were the only games that that people would be enjoying on the reg if gambling were not outlawed, or at least not generally outlawed in the way that it is. Like, so we've got sports betting now, which is kind of insane. But again, it's all regulated gaming, so it's still probably filtering a certain degree of automatic revenue into government coffers.
For education.
In a way, you could think about it this way. The library, right, that was supposed to stop piracy back in the 1800s. Yeah. Maybe this is their way of addressing gambling, and so that people aren't, losing their mind and their money such a high degree.
Except for some. So there's a part of me that wonders if games aren't like actually only games with stakes if you can lose something real meaningful off of them. The fact that we don't have gambling based stakes every time you load up a video game, for example. We used to have to pay a quarter at the arcade every time we wanted a round, and the goal was get on that leaderboard, right? Those were games with a purpose, and it felt like you lost something if you actually lost, right? Modern games are so forgiving that it almost doesn't feel like you're losing ever. And because of that, we find less meaning in the games we play, right? The really great games of the past were hard. And one way you can make games feel hard is by making it so that you have to put up a stake and lose something if you lose, whether or not people can do that healthily is not the job of a government agency, in my opinion.
Well, I tend to agree with you. It's a different point of view about, why they existed.
Yeah.
That's the reason why games are set up the way they are. I mean, they give you a little piece just so it keeps you there so you can lose more. So
yeah, but then again, there's games like No Man's Sky, right, where you play in a world where the goal is to build, and because you can't run out of materials and you can't not undo a build maneuver cheaply, you have a ground shape reconstruction tool baked into the digging tool to where you can undig a hole, right? Like that makes it so that every hole you dig is reversible, right? And so you don't have to risk potentially screwing up the plot of land you're building your perfect base on, right? That lowers the stakes.
Can I answer these two questions? Let me try. All right. What exactly is the point of the lottery? Well, the state is the person who trusts the game and trusts the state, the government, and believes in the altruistic motives behind it. It helps fund the schools. Will tell you that, yes, that's the point of lottery, is for to make dreams come true for the winner, and use it as a form of a donation back towards the schools. All right, so that would be what the point of the lottery is. Now, the second question is, did government just beat out the mob so they could move in on the numbers game? Absolutely. Even the statist might say the same, have the same answer. The numbers game was very popular before state lotteries came into play, and but they were also illegal. Why were they illegal? Was because, quite honestly, they were rigged. But there were winners that were paid out. There was no proof concept or audit. It's not like the mobsters went out and says, our gambling is legit. We've hired, accounting firm XYZ to come and audit our books.
Yeah. Except in order to get it funded as business, it has to be set up in a way that the house always wins, even by a little margin.
Exactly.
Right? Otherwise, no one will fund your casino.
Exactly. So I think it was also somewhat of a payoff too. Like, hey, we'll move this money that's being used underground in the black markets, and we'll move it into a more legitimate state operation, and we'll pay off, ABC company to run the numbers, run the system, and it really becomes just a big, payback for someone donating to a campaign to get it across the border. That's my opinion. So yeah, it's all right. We have more questions. There was one more question here about gambling, I see. All right. Can blockchain keep lotteries honest? And I'm going to say, yeah, it's very possible. And should people play them after learning Epstein won a jackpot worth over $30 million? Well, what say you? I say no.
I say yes, because back in the early days of crypto, there was this really neat idea called the no-lose lottery.
Oh, yeah.
And I was there at the ETH Denver where the guy who created it. So what he built was this system where you'd put a stake into the lottery, and then that stake would go into a pool that would get restaked by a smart contract to DeFi projects that would generate yield. And that yield that was generated was the only reward. So if you won, you got the yield and your money back. Mm-hmm. And if you lost, you just got your money back.
Mm.
Right.
That's still not out there, is it?
No, if you get enough people in the pool, then the winner of the draw gets a decent windfall. Yeah, and the longer it takes to get a winner, the more interest accrues or the more reward accrues on the stake. So the number can get quite big. Unfortunately, it only works decentralized because there's no way to get anyone to approve a license for a decentralized system like that, right? Like literally, if you're the creator, you have to hide your identity. Otherwise, they'll come after you for creating an illegal gambling operation.
Right. They don't want someone like that to move in on the state's game.
No, because the state doesn't want to have to compete with a game that gives back the original ticket price if you don't win.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, it's like Tornado Cash being the balance between the real world and of the fake stock market and crypto.
And regarding the Epstein question, like, I wonder how many dead lottery winners there actually are.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, if you think about it, like dead U.S. citizens have a lot of utility in black and gray markets, right?
They sure do.
Yeah.
And voting.
Yeah. Let's say you want to create a fake ID so that an illegal worker can come have a job here and not get caught,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's great to find somebody who's about their age that died, the week after they were born, find out their birth certificate, get them a new social security number using the birth certificate and some other form of ID you establish, right? Mm-hmm. Get the social security card, take the birth certificate and the social security card you just got, the DMV, get yourself a driver's license, full law, you're a new person, right? And the whole system is not set up to be able to interdict the various points where this becomes an invalid activity. Right?
Jorge, you're now Adam.
So it wouldn't be hard to grab someone's identity who's dead and win a game with it, or at least use their name to claim the prize of the game. Now, that said, a name like Epstein should stand out on just about any winner's list. So the fact that happened seems pretty sketchy to me. It seems probably, if I would guess,
it was just his brother. His brother
some
claimed
kind
it.
of dirty tricks department operation to funnel money from a state lottery into one of their projects.
Well, my understanding is that the winnings went to buy the ranch in New Mexico.
Right. So they funded a government project, which was propping up that guy.
No, I'm Jefferson. Jefferson Epstein. There's difference.
Oh, was it?
Oh, okay. I mean, I was going to say, I was about to ask that, but yeah, like, couldn't his brother go claim it?
No, I think he was awarded the estate, right?
Yeah, he was awarded the estate. That is true. I believe that is true.
It's amazing.
Andrew, what do you say? How do you answer this question? Can blockchains keep lotteries, honest, Andrew? What do you think?
I mean, I think if people who are playing it actually have a fungible token that they play with, yeah, I think there's a good chance. There's a certain audience that goes for it every week, right? So just have them, when they do it the first time, say this is tied to your identity on your driver's license or something like that. Where I live in South Carolina, you can scan the back of your driver's license to like buy alcohol and stuff like that. So I don't see why you couldn't do it for the lottery.
Right. That's every state just about. They're doing that for your safety.
Yeah. Zach, what do you think? Can blockchain keep lotteries honest?
Could they? They can. They could. But what is the risk of life? There's always going to be that one guy that ruins everything for everyone. But at the same time, that one guy in a more decentralized yet transparent system is more. I mean, you can kind of block it. You can block out the sneeze. Really,
Pardon.
I mean, bless you.
I tried.
But yeah,
that's good glitch.
You can kind of glitch. Yeah, I mean that's even a better terminology. You can block out the glitch by understanding that there's more names attached. Let's just put it that way, so you can keep everybody honest.
I don't know who this is. It says Design Heretic, but this person writes, lottery funds the schools. Considering the quality of the schools, this isn't a very good argument for the goodness of the institution. I wonder if this person is meaning the goodness of the institution, meaning schools are the institution or the lottery.
I think what's surprising is I think some of your lottery funds also goes to those charter schools too. They're not very great either.
We got one in Texas that's very good, very good, and it's growing rapidly. Anyone have comments to this Design Heretics comment? Anybody? Because there's more questions here. I gotta jump.
I would just comment that that's a very charming avatar, whoever that is.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's a very nice avatar.
Likeness of to you. I don't know about that. Great. It's the hair. At first I thought it was Andrew, but I realized I was wrong.
Right.
So Andrew,
Litecoin Lisa has a comment. She says Epstein won in New Mexico after his death. I did not know that.
Interesting.
But wait a minute. What do you mean he won after his death? Does that mean that he's still alive and bought a ticket and won?
Dun, dun, dun.
Or does this mean that it wasn't Jeffrey Epstein?
I mean, didn't his gamer tag or whatever they call it show up in Israel a little while ago? So that will play into it.
Gamer tag?
And he plays online with.
You're a nerd.
Let me mute my. keep talking, gentlemen. I'm going to ask AI about this question.
Okay. Well, I'm just saying. I mean, they said he had a Roblox account or something like that, and he was using it out of Israel. People were looking it up a while ago.
Speaking of Roblox, doesn't that have some issues with some not so reputable individuals preying on children?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah. I only say that because I was actually watching the YouTube video. I was watching my ministry YouTube stuff earlier this morning, and that was one of the ads that popped up. YouTube is getting crazy with the ads, but that they popped up an ad like that. I'm like,
really?
Wait what? Yeah, it was some class action lawsuit type ad. You know that deal? And it was about Roblox and being very heavy on the predator ordeal.
Here we go.
Oh,
yeah, you're on mute. You're on mute.
My bad. Take some plot points away from me. Here we go, Lisa. Like Queen Lisa, this is to answer your question. AI, can we trust her or not? It says there are claims that a trust named Zorro Trust won an $85 million Powerball jackpot in 2008. This is long before he passed.
He was in prison, though.
Yeah, which shares a name with a trust associated with Jeffrey Epstein. However, there is no definitive evidence that Epstein himself won the lottery, and the identity of the actual winner remains unknown. Dun, dun, dun. Now, there were claims that he won twice, but here are the key facts. Lottery details. Date of the draw was July 2nd, 2008. Jackpot amount, $85 million, claimed by Zorro Trust, which also owned the real estate, parcel and ranch in New Mexico. Payout option, lump sum of approximately $29.3 million after taxes. Trust connection, the Zorro Trust is linked to Epstein, who owned a ranch in New Mexico called Zorro Ranch. Evidence and speculation, trust management. Bryce Gordon, Epstein's ranch manager, was reportedly involved in claiming the lottery prize. Dun, dun, dun. Anonymity. Oh, under Oklahoma law at the time, trusts could claim lottery prizes anonymously. Lisa, Oklahoma law. Wow. Which complicates the identification of the true winner. Coincidence argument. Some sources suggest that the name similarity is purely coincidental. See, it wasn't.
So what you're saying is we need to we create a World Blockchain Roundtable Trust in Oklahoma, play the Powerball in Oklahoma, and then have somebody claim.
Yeah.
Lisa, you can claim it for World Blockchain Roundtable Trust.
Yeah, just share us, all right? Just share a little bit with us. All right. Oh, this design heretic person posted something else. I don't know. Is it safe to read? Let me see. I wonder
it's
how
actually
many... What?
Oh, I said this actually goes with my question I actually posted. Go on.
Oh. I wonder how many deceased lottery winners there are. Which I'll never know.
There'd be any way to know.
It would be what?
I don't think there would be any way to know.
I don't think so either. Just like there's no way to know how many voters are deceased.
Right.
See, that's what makes blockchain a better system to use.
Yeah.
Actually, that kind of poses an interesting idea. What if we inverted it? What if instead of having lotteries, we voted for people to get a big pot of cash, specific ones, and instead of having votes, we just had lotteries.
Interesting.
This design heretic has a fan. Lisa Mighty Davis says, good question, design heretic. Oh. All right. We got another one. The legacy right. Now, we know who these people are. We know who they are. One of them, who happens, both of them are on this podcast, but one of them, and I don't know which one it was that typed this question, that we will never know. But they are alive, and they are alive and well on this podcast. One of them wrote a question here. How many deceased Democrat voters do you think there are that have won the Powerball? Well, you know, a Republican would say once they won, they became a Republican.
That's true. That is true.
So I don't know. You, the two of you can claim your anonymity or whatever. You don't have to say which one of you wrote this question, but all of us do need to answer it. Those are the rules here that were presented in this week's, ask a question on the chat.
Well, they didn't necessarily win the Powerball, but we do know for a fact that they won another lottery because they are in fact deceased.
Oh, good one. Bravo. I think this clap here is for that.
Not to speak ill of the dead, but
no.
But my family has this thing that instead of saying to members who are about to go on a long drive, "Don't hit a deer," we say "win the lottery," because every time we say "don't hit a deer," it happens to whoever we say it to.
Oh, yeah.
So we just say "win the lottery" instead.
Yep. This Design Heretics asks another question. Oh no. Let's see. Hopefully I can read this online. What if we used blockchains to spin up unique specific lotteries whose pool goes in part to fund a cause the players all want to support? No lose lottery format only, of course. Oh, it's kind of like GoFundMe, but a lottery.
Right. So everybody plays to have a chance to win, but the thing that you're playing for also means that when the jackpot gets distributed, a cause that you support gets funded.
Nice.
It could be anything from, like you said, actually, that would be a really cool way to do a GoFundMe type of service, right? Actually, when you think about it, people spin up their own lottery. They don't have to have a reason to play other than the fact that they might win the draw. And, in choosing to use that particular lottery, they've adopted to fund a particular thing, right? Like you can actually set it so that the lottery doesn't draw until the pool's big enough if you wanted to even specifically fund specific amounts. That'd be kind of neat.
Charities do it all the time with raffles, right?
Yeah, exactly. It'd be like a charity raffle, but where the prize is money. Or, I mean, you could even do, I guess, specific prizes if you want it. But but the infrastructure for that would be more difficult than just like, straight using a token dump. So
yes.
It's a thought. Might not be a bad way to actually leverage the lottery to do something not garbage. Right.
Yeah, I agree. Well, that's an interesting concept there, Design Heretic, whoever you might be.
Right. Design Heretic with that dapper logo.
Litecoin Lisa. I'm glad she's participating in the chat. Thank you very much. Schlep, White Hat Hacker, was used by Roblox for finding pedos on their platform. I don't know anything about this. Anybody?
It's interesting. I didn't know anything about it either.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it would. This is one of those like don't violate the terms of use type of situations where they probably should have overlooked it.
Yeah.
Because it probably does require you to violate the terms of use to unmask anybody's identity on the platform, which
but
makes sense, right? But at the same time, like if you get caught doing that and the thing you're doing is awesome and not evil, then maybe we should give you an award instead of a penalty.
Right.
That's what I'm thinking.
And if you're a pedo on a platform like Roblox, maybe you should end up with rope.
Yep. No, that said, there's one advantage here. If Schlep were to be imprisoned for their crime against humanity that they committed by manipulating Roblox in a way that allowed their platform to expose people's identities, right, regardless of who those were.
Right.
When you go to trial, and if you succeed, or if you don't succeed at getting off, and you go to prison, right? You're going to be so people don't know this about prison, I'm guessing. Actually, they probably do. But pedophiles aren't popular there.
No.
Therefore, anti-pedophile vigilantes are probably like the kings of prison.
Mm-hmm.
So, you still have to go to prison, but you probably won't get tortured there. At least not by the residents.
I mean, I know I've seen videos on YouTube of people going and busting pedos and meeting them up like at the mall or whatever, and then trying to get them arrested. So,
yeah.
I guess
here's the problem with that though, is they're beating them up. So they just committed a battery. So
we don't make the world better by adding more aggression to it.
No.
Even if we're beating up somebody who deserves it.
Yeah, but the best ones is to actually find them, confront them, have a conversation with them, and have the cops on standby. Like, oh, just so you know, the cops are on the way there, buddy.
I think the larger point here is that this was a white hat hacker who was trying to find pedos and out them on the platform, and Roblox wanted to stop it. Why? Why did they want to stop it?
Because
being pressured by Washington, probably.
Because Roblox honestly, isn't Roblox out of Israel?
I don't know. Probably would be my guess. All right, moving on to the next question. Someone from the Legacy Right, one of you asks, what if we had a lottery system where someone has to be a representative in Washington, D.C.? I don't think that's a win. And after they've won and served for a designated term limit, they win the money and get to retire at least.
Andrew, they already do this.
Let me ask a quick question here so I understand the concept.
The lottery.
So I put my name in the hat. I put in, whatever, $10, and I get 10 tickets. And if I win, then I become a U.S. congressperson. Yes. And after I serve, whatever, 2 years, 4 years, 6 years, I then get the winnings.
It's a term limit. You can't go back.
Right. Oh. You know what? Guess what? Andrew just answered something about this or gave some details to it. So it's very probable that he wrote this question. I'm just making an deductive reason.
He did. All I can say is they pretty much already do this already, per se. I mean, they don't have to retire if they don't want to, but when they do leave, if they decide, they get free everything. So, and then they also get matched. Many of them get matched with like deals and contracts to be political news commentators for like Fox News or CNN or whatever. Or some sort of think tank in like DC or New York or wherever. Like, so, I mean, they're rewarded for doing absolutely nothing for serving their terms. And then of course you have the ones that are still in there for their almost the entirety of their life, and they get free everything. So truth be told, I think that in order to invert this question, I would say that perhaps we should just have a lottery system where whoever wins gets the rope.
Oh, no.
So you don't want to win.
No one's going to buy the tickets, Zach. But you know what this is, Greg? You talked about this a lot. You talked about like jury selection.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And this is selecting, someone to serve in Congress, like doing jury duty. Do we really want just some random person with even maybe a low IQ or who is a violent person or something serving in Congress? I don't know.
Oh, to add, I didn't mean they're the ones that are in the lottery system. I meant the voters are the ones in the lottery system. So when you win after you serve your designated term limit, you retire indefinitely with the rope. Thank you to the voters that elected you in.
Well, I'm just thinking, there's all this corruption scandals and stuff like that in the voting. At least, you're bypassing the voting process, and it's just somebody randomly selected, in theory.
Yeah, I see. I think there's a better way to handle the election rigging and the election problem and foreign interest. And my answer to that would be the umbrella promise, but maybe I'm just partial to that concept. But this really idea is like a jury pool, selecting a jury pool. But so I guess my incentive is this: I buy a ticket hoping I win and become a U.S. Congressperson, move to Washington, D.C. for a couple of years, 3 years, 4 years, whatever it is, and serve out my term and then collect the winnings. I don't honestly, you know what? I wouldn't play that lottery. I wouldn't want to participate at all in that. That's just me.
Well, I mean, it's not like they don't have headhunters that they look to run for, Congress as it is. The people that's their whole job is to go and find people that they think will serve the interest of, lobby groups.
Right.
So.
Right. Okay, there's another question. A little bit more. There's another question here. I'm just going to click on it. That's the same one. Okay. What is this in theory?
And that was a continuation of the question. It's just there's a character limit on YouTube.
At least in theory. Gotcha. Okay. Lisa's got another comment. Lisa, these are supposed to be questions, Lisa. No, thank you very much for your comment. Roblox is the largest gaming platform for children. Exactly.
Yep.
Sad and scary, and we have pedos on there, and Roblox sues to try to stop it. What is that? That's sick. Wrong. All right.
Another question from Mr. Buckeye Zach.
Yeah, Buckeye Zach, whomever that might be. Just so ironic that we have a Zach on the show. So maybe our Zach should answer this Buckeye Zach question first. Would blockchains be a better alternative in limiting lobbying corporate think tanks and international governments from coopting our nation?
Co-opting.
Yeah.
Co-opting. Sorry, it's very small. Well, come on, Zach. I answered Buckeye Zach's question.
I think it could be. I honestly think there's a better opportunity to make things more equally, like having a first among equals within the blockchain. So like we can co-opt ourselves from falling into a limitation of actually being actually performing governance rather than being co-opted into the very nature of where our government aligns with, because you have special interests here and special interests there. So I think with the blockchain, you can definitely limit the special interest groups as a larger standard, because then it goes back to individuals acting within a marketplace, effectively a lottery system, essentially, but in a marketplace.
Lobbying corporate think tanks. I don't think they're think tanks, but I get what you mean. It is a problem. It's a huge problem that we have either foreign money going into elections and altering the outcomes, manipulating the outcomes, foreign money, handpicking candidates, or it's kind of like a tease, or corporations that want to get their a certain legislation past the finish line that benefits them and hurts their competition. It's definitely an unfair game for most that want to play, and it is a pay for play, right? System, and it also makes it very expensive to run for office with any chance of winning. So you might have the best message, you might have be the most popular, person in your district, but you'll be outspent and out endorsed, and you'll lose. And then people come into question, well, was the election fair or not? Well, maybe the election, the actual machine counts were fair. It was legitimate. But the question is, were the people who voted for, quote unquote, the outsider, was it really a fair election, or were the people manipulated to vote a certain way? That's where the problem lies. And it's all about the money. Follow the money. Show me.
It is. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the manipulation, right? Like
Yeah.
people say manipulated, and they think that there's like this secret channel where there's this invisible signal passing to us subliminally, and we're persuaded, and that it's like somehow cheating to do that. But in reality, what's happening is we're being actively persuaded by the arguments going on all the time.
Yes.
And when we look at those arguments, we don't think, I wonder if I should believe this. We just hear it, right? And if it plays over and over again, then there's that neat little frequency / availability bias that kicks in that says, I've heard this thing so many times that I subconsciously cannot register it as untrue any longer.
Right.
And moreover, I have taken a side on this. So now there's a social position surrounding my persuasion that has stakes in my continued social flourishing. So
yeah, the brain is wonderful. It's like that's what it does. It distinguishes things. It ends up, it pieces things together that we hear and see, and just basically tries to formulate it in patterns. So like if we hear something repeatedly over and over, like people watching Fox News or CNN all the time or whatever, people doom scrolling X or Facebook, then you're going to create a pattern in your mind, and you're going to come up with the truth in your own head. Even if it is, whether it's the truth or not, it's going to be true. And so that's the manipulation. There's no conspiracy. There's no shadowy realm out there, everybody. Like there might be, but I mean, the fact is it's just your brain being activated.
Well, and with frequency bias, it's especially troubling, right? Because that thing works on our brains whether or not we know it is manipulating us to believe something false. Like the testing that they've done on it show that if you tell somebody that they're about to be face a manipulation attempt, and the manipulation attempt includes repeating an untrue thing over and over again, and you tell them that, your brain will still have a hard time letting go of the idea that what's been repeated at you in plausible sounding tones is not also true. Even if you know in advance that it's fake, right? So that's the trouble. Is the only filter we have control over is whether or not we tune in at all.
Right.
So I'm not sure how we could use blockchains to make that work, other than maybe if we're news junkies, you could see this working, right? Like if all you want to do is track the news, but you don't want to be manipulated about anything important, then maybe an encrypted feed that decrypts after the event that the reporting is about would make kind of sense, because you could go back and read all of the things after the event while keeping a clear head about your own decision making.
Right.
Yeah. So don't read that headline, just stuff it into my queue of encrypted stuff that I'll read after the event, and then I can do my news junkyism in retrospect.
or I can mesmerize you with this.
Oh boy.
I'm giving you a Hebrew blessing, everybody. You're blessed.
The Spock thing.
I'm too blessed to be depressed.
I'm a great wizard. Either that or I'm AI. I'm not sure which.
I think you're AI. The only one that we know for sure is AI, because he hasn't shown his hands, is Andrew. Do you have 6 fingers? Oh, there's a 6 finger. Why do you have 11 fingers? You have 6 fingers on your right hand, Andrew.
I couldn't tell you. Who knows?
See, that's the experiment. I'm manipulating you, all of you. Now you gotta think, everybody. Is Andrew real?
As real as all of us,
right? To the extent we all have access to reality, I would say yes.
This is just a big hallucination. You all really aren't even here.
It's all simulation.
I'm just thinking you are.
Yeah. Okay.
Hello?
we're all one mind.
We're all Borg. We are Borg.
We are Borg. That's right. That's right. Well, to go back to what this question is: would blockchains be better an alternative in limiting lobbying? Absolutely. Again, this is the umbrella promise right there. In my opinion, it
is whack-a-mole. When there's money involved, there's always going to be an element of gluttony.
Yeah.
So there's going to be people who are trying to, pressure test the system and see how they can get an edge.
Well,
that's the whole point. That's the whole point of the umbrella promise, is it takes the money out of the equation.
Right. It makes it so that it's irrelevant as opposed to outlawed, which is, I think, really important.
Mm-hmm. It's more of a direct democracy at the district level, because the person who's elected as a representative only votes per their vote. So it's like a voting club at the district level for registered voters. And then, they vote on the legislation up or down, yes or no. And then the representative must vote according to, the district, what the people said. And it doesn't matter if it's only 100 votes on an issue or if it's, 100,000 votes on an issue. Whatever the majority is how the elected representative must vote. So therefore, the elected representative cannot be swayed by the lobbyist, like in this question, or the corporate lobbyist or the party lobbyist. They are, in effect, they're plugged into more of a direct democracy from their district. Yeah. So before party, before money, before lobbying, before special interest, they are truly representing the people. Now, in committees, they might, voice their own opinion. Hence, the person who's running for office has, who has signed the contract with the umbrella promise. It's got teeth to it. They have to adhere to it. So, all right, people in the chat, what questions do you have for us? Now's your chance. Throw us some questions. What do you want to hear? What do you want us to talk about? You want us to talk about current events? Put that in the chat. Uh-oh, this design heretic heard my call. Would it really be a limit on lobbying or a retargeting of its core audience if we went with the umbrella promise? Maybe I don't understand the core.
Here, I'm going to clarify.
Oh, you're going to clarify the design heritage.
Right. Here we go. Oh, there we go.
All right. Let's see what design heretic says further. I mean, in the sense that lobbying would be sensible to a particular district's population with persuasive advertising.
So,
right.
So,
the money's got to flow to the district, not to
the representative. Lobby the people at the place that vote on the representative.
That's right.
Or on the representative's actions.
Yeah. That's the whole idea. The umbrella is over the Capitol, so the money can't flow directly to the pockets of the elected representative. Right. The money's got to flow to the district level and influence the people down there. So, rather than, there's only 535 people in DC that are elected, 536, 37 if you count the president and vice president. So that's only 500 people that need to be manipulated with money and influence.
Right. It's not very
versus now you have to manipulate all 350 million people in the U.S.
Right.
So you've got to get.
Least, if you want to turn a particular district's representative, you have to get one place.
Right. No, I think it's beautiful.
Well, it does it's weird because it forces a kind of representative government with respect to lobbying, while it simultaneously eliminates a sort of concept of representative governance directly, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the representative is no longer making choices independent of the voting block in one sense, so it becomes direct. But in another sense, it becomes a sort of decentralized lobbying target, where instead of trying to appease the representative with the spends, they try to appease the districts of the representatives with the spends. And to me, that's a virtuous loop.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because imagine if you had to persuade, take this to the local level, right? Imagine if you had to persuade, instead of the city council, all of the people in the city, if they wanted to do a bond issue to force a stadium down everybody's throats or something like that.
Right. And the idea that someone is running for office and signs the Umbrella Promise Pledge means that if they vote against their constituents, then there's an immediate recall, and they also have a contractual agreement that they've signed, so it's got teeth, that holds them civilly liable, so they could lose their go after their direct bank accounts. So there's no end around way of screwing the people over and then getting booted out of. They'll get booted out of office, but they'll also get sued for millions of dollars or something like that. And they've agreed to that to earn the vote. It doesn't matter if they're a Republican or Democrat or Libertarian or Green Party, whatever. It doesn't matter. If the district is predominantly Democrat or the district is predominantly Republican, they can run as Republican or Democrat, which might help with appointments, in their other committee meeting duties. But when it comes to legislation, well, that's another thing too, is because now the voter is, how can a representative know everything about everything to vote in, make informed choices as a representative? They have to know about budgets, military, social security.
It's almost it's pretty impossible.
Yeah, it's impossible. But people at the district level, there are people that are well informed about education. Maybe that's part of their job. There's accountants that are well informed about budgets and understand those kinds of things. So more well informed voters within the voting club called the Umbrella Promise would be more informed, and I would think that it would lead to a better legislation that would get passed into law. That's my opinion. What, we got another question? Is this the Zach guy? Should we set up a GoFundMe DAO, set up to fund a toupee for Andrew? No. Andrew's got his own money. How would the Umbrella
buy your own toupee?
Trade-offs. What define trade-offs?
Well, I mean, it is a consistent model, and they make a choice. There's obviously, an alternative timeline that is created from that choice. So how would that timeline be handled?
Well, let me ask this: what trade-offs do you guys see?
Yeah, how do we assess the risks involved through what the Umbrella Promise takes over? How do we assess it?
If you have, let's just say that there was, should we attack Iran? Let's just say that was something that was put before the legislature, right? Mm-hmm. Well, then everyone within that district would vote yay or nay. They would vote yes, we should, or no, we shouldn't. And then the representative is going to vote per their district's viewpoint on that particular issue. So the trade-off is the representative isn't being swayed by, military industrial complex. They aren't being swayed by anything other than the outcome of their district, how their district feels about a particular thing. So the trade-off is, do we want more money in it? And the trade-off is, does the representative now need to raise a bunch of money for the next campaign? No, because there's a two-way, I guess that's the trade-off. you want money in your in the campaigns or not? And the trade-off is just that. If a person says, I will vote per your vote, plain and simple, just elect me and I'll vote per your vote, then they don't need to run a bunch of money to win the office. Take some money out of the campaign. That's the people's promise to the elected official. If you vote per our vote, then we promise to re-elect you back into office, and you don't have to accept lobbying money for your next campaign. That's a trade-off. How's that?
Okay.
Poke holes in it, guys.
It's a good question. I think I'm curious what other trade-offs everybody sees around umbrella promise. Like, are there any, especially from you, William? Like, do you think there are some things that people will miss about the old way, or is this just all upside?
Maybe what they'll miss is because every time there's some kind of legislation for either pharmaceutical or should we go to war or not, or maybe everyone's going to get inundated on the airways with ads, political ads. Political ads will be 365 days a year, 7 days a week, because the lobbyists now have to spend it at the district level rather than controlling 535 people.
Well, that raises another benefit, though, actually, because while it's difficult for the federal government to regulate any kind of speech at all, including very annoying political advertising, localities can do a lot more with reasonable time, place, manner restrictions than larger governmental bodies can do with any law with respect to making sure that people aren't spammed with garbage.
Exactly.
Right? So the fact that that a state might have a rule that says it's per se defined as harassment if you repeat call somebody 3 times within a given window or whatever, or you might have a local rule that says city buses can't be purchased for issue ads, right? Stuff like that.
Right.
Those are local restrictions that communities decide on. And so they're a lot less problematic than global, absolute, monolithic rules about how every place everywhere in the country has to behave. Right? So I think we've already got sort of that trade-off mitigated.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's a valid point. Locally, they can decide if they want to allow bus ads. I don't watch a lot of TV, and I'm shocked when I do, and I see all these ads for pharmaceuticals. If you're suffering from blah 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 blah, side effects could be, and they read off the side effects real quickly. I'm so shocked at how many pharmaceutical ads are on TV now, just because I don't watch it very often. So it kind of hit me, like whoa. So I was thinking there would be more political ads, maybe. I don't know, but see, then again, the lobbyists, they're stretched thin because now they have to try to sway 100 million voters rather than 535 people, and so we've decentralized their money spending, and I love that idea. All right. I don't know about the GoFundMe thing. Oh, there's another trade-off. After trade-offs, this person wrote, what is this person named? Should we call them TLS 2SN? I don't know. Tussen, right? Should a reform in the system be applied universally, or should they be implemented in various ways so that altered implementation can illustrate greater insight into how things might work? Oh, so is this still do you think this is still the part of the trade-off question?
Yeah.
I guess start small, like in a small local level, school board or mayoral maybe not necessarily elect executive branch, but maybe city council. You could start small, or you could just go ahead and go large. I still believe that a U.S. congressperson, regardless of their party, if they just campaign just solely on "I will vote per your vote," and they say, "What do you mean I have a vote?" Yeah, we're going to set up an app, and it's going to be on your phone. And if you're a registered voter, you can go down to the office, show that you're a registered voter, and we'll give you a login and access to a blockchain app that will allow you to log in and vote one vote on legislation that's being proposed. And I will only vote per your vote. So really what we have is we have democracy. So, four wolves deciding what's for dinner with the fifth person being a sheep. Yeah, you have a local democracy. And the representative it's more of a direct democracy. It's still a constitutional republic, right? So nothing has changed in the Constitution to allow this. It's a voting club.
Yep. Right. And it's also really not a universal application, right? We're not talking about, only trying this if every single person in the country agrees that their rep should also follow this. Right.
Right.
This is literally just a choice that a candidate can make prior to campaigning. That if they adhere to it, can take care of the usual benefits you get from lobbying, because it funds you with a pool of resources from the little voting club DAO.
Right.
Right. So you get funding for doing things like whatever your campaign process is, because you're still going to have to probably campaign, right? But you also have this sort of one representative at a time, one congressperson at a time, one local leader at a time, however you want to use it, right? It doesn't apply to everyone all at once.
I think going back to the trade-off question is, if I'm running as a Republican in a predominantly Democrat district, and I say I will vote per your vote, and I get elected, but the majority of my constituents vote more Democrat, in a Democrat way, then I got to vote per their vote. So it doesn't really, party really means nothing almost, except for committee assignments. And so that's one aspect of it. But here's like you were saying, Greg, I think it doesn't have to start at the local level. It could start at the district level. And imagine, I'm speaking to the Massey fans out there. Imagine if Thomas Massey says, you know what, I'm going to give this umbrella promise a try. Because I lost the primary, I can no longer run as a Republican. I'm now going to run as an independent, and I'm going to only vote per your vote. So vote for me, and I will vote per your vote. It cancels out all the lobbying. And so then, in the general election, could he win? I don't know. But it would be kind of interesting. Maybe even a third party, like let's say libertarians want to get more traction. Maybe libertarians, could say, I'm going to only vote per your vote.
It would be a very libertarian friendly position, at least for certain kind of libertarian.
Sure. But see, again, but then that person has to, that's a huge trade-off, is that person has to give up their political, principles, because they can't, maybe as a libertarian, maybe you believe in small government and cut funding and everything, but your constituents say, no, don't cut funding to education. No, don't cut funding to, military spending. Well, if that's what your constituents say, that's what how you have to vote. You cannot vote as a representative as in your belief or in your principles as a libertarian. So
Yeah.
you're trading your party, your maybe fundamental principles to vote for your district. But that's how it was designed. You're supposed to represent your people.
Yeah. Maybe though, also, right? There's an argument to be made for the fact that this doesn't have to be like that, right? Like, if you want to, as a candidate, you can tailor your voting thresholds, for example, right? So, you could say, in my world, the default answer is vote no.
Yes.
And if you guys don't change my vote, it will be no. The rules for changing my vote include 90% consensus or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. Like you can still set it up to be the official candidate of libertarian noism, but you would have to be upfront about it. Right. You have to make it clear that that your DAO was going to be set up in such a way that making him say yes to something was going to be difficult.
Yeah.
Him or her, I guess.
Yeah. This design heretic writes, it's about putting the choices of the trade-offs you make back in local hands so they're not made for us in closed-door deal-making sessions between lobbying firm reps and elected representatives. One at a time. One at a time. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I did not intend this show to be about the umbrella promise.
It's a good topic, though.
Yeah, it's timely, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, especially considering the Massey situation. But
move on to the next one. Let's do this one last, and since we're on the umbrella promise and the politics right now.
Do this one last?
Because that has more to do with the algorithmic scheme of our digital age. But if Massey runs as an independent, what do you think his chances of winning are? And I'll answer it real quick.
Good.
This is my personal opinion. Not even 300,000%. He has no chance. Don't even get behind it.
What makes you so confident?
Money. The money is the system. The political system that we are in is rigged. The money that is it's all about money, and the lobbying firms that are, regardless of what your opinion is on Massey and where his lobbying probably comes from as well. The simple fact is narratives are written and fulfilled, and it's through the money that is changing hands through the corporate election industrial complex with all these special interest groups and major special interest super PACs such as APAC and pharmaceutical, et cetera. So he does not have a chance in hell. Like, hell would have to literally freeze over if you think that he has a chance of winning as a independent in the general election.
I don't know. I've seen this happen before, right? Like, we've seen this happen before. So I'm not entirely sold on the notion that this isn't what was it? Who was it? Was it Barney Frank or somebody like that? No, it was Joe Lieberman back in the day. Right? He got primaried out. And then voted in anyway as an independent. This would have been 2008, I think.
You're right. Yeah, Joe Lieberman lost. He lost his as a Democrat in the primary, re-ran as an independent in the general and won.
And I'll actually.
It's possible, but it's rare.
It is. It can be possible, but I'll rebut on the fact that was 2008, and we're in a totally different political landscape as we were. Yeah. Almost.
I think the big confounding factor is really whether or not Massey wants the trouble. Honestly,
that is my.
There are tons of other offices he could run for, or other things he could do that would pursue his mission.
That is my perspective, kind of in a way, is that he was trying to find a way for him to get out of politics because he was getting tired of it, and maybe he came to the table from behind the scenes with them and said, "Hey, you say this dirt about me. I can say, oh no, I fight it, and then I might even run for president, but I don't want to win. Just let me get out of here. I've had my moment in the sunshine here, so I just
the lesser power is strong, and I think Massey would be foolish to try to run again as an independent in the general election. I think I agree with you, Zach. It would be a long shot for him to win. The money will still keep pouring in from outside of the state to fight him from being elected, reelected, shall we say that? And it would be a way to drain money from other politicians if he were to try to do that. But I don't think he'd win. I agree with you. Maybe that was a bad example in describing the umbrella promise, but
I mean, if he's true to his word, like if he's as a man, in my opinion, he doesn't do anything. He doesn't get back into the national landscape. He doesn't try to win, keep his seat through an independent cycle in the general election. What he does is he lets that money flow through in contribution towards maybe building something towards something better locally, or perhaps if he does stay in the political realm, he tries to stick it out more on a local district basis. Maybe that's maybe that's of more benefit to him to keep everything more center volted locally and where things actually matter, which is in your local district.
Right. He'd be unstoppable as a state rep.
Yeah,
he would. Actually.
Yeah, he would.
He would.
Or even a governor, maybe. But here's the other point. I think that the lust for power is really strong, and now there's talk about Massey for 2028, and he's going to hear that, and that's going to pump his ego. He's going to probably want to run for something like that. And because there is certainly a split in the Republican Party, the conservative versus MAGA, for what it's worth. But the other point I guess I would say on that is Massey, in my opinion, him losing is good for people like myself being an agorist in anarchy, because I think it shows that race was outrageously expensive for the winner. And it was outrageously expensive for Massey to run against so much money. And people, I know there's a lot of people out there now feel like their vote was worthless. It was disenfranchised. It was controlled and manipulated by outside forces, even outside of the country even. So I think that people are going to become even more jaded about politics, more jaded about the government, more jaded about elections. And so this is an opportunity for people who believe in A3, such as myself, to let people know there is another alternative. So,
but that's not how the
what's that?
That's not how the libertarian platform sadly operates. And I think a lot of the support came from the libertarian wing of the political spectrum, and many of them still believe that we have to do something on a political level, which is not the case. What you need to do is you need to ground yourself, come out of your ego, and there's three things in life that matter. There's God, there's family, and there's community, and that's all that matters. And you need to stay local and grounded within yourselves so that you can actually reciprocate that back to everybody else. I mean, it all comes back to love, and politics is not about love. So you have to ground yourself. Politics is not the answer. Building tools like blockchain, building tools like focusing on exchange and transaction and cooperation with your local neighbors, and building systems in place parallel systems in place where you actually have a grounded, loyal, responsible, respectable, web of relationships is what matters. And I think that's where the political mechanism takes away that relational aspect. We're here relationally, whether we like it or not, we can't operate without a relationship with anybody. And the radical autonomy and the radical individualism, that's good when you're 15 and you're a rebel, because we're all basically rebels as teenagers. Oh, I'm invincible. Yeah, look at me. But I mean, when you get older, you realize no, I need my brother. I need my brothers in arms. I need my best friend. I need my wife, my husband. I need my children, my grandchildren. I need my neighbors. I need my community. And we need to get out of this political mindset.
I agree with you, that absolutely. I think that We need to step back and away from that politics or political realm, especially because it's so corrupt, and forge a new path, a parallel path, a new way of doing things. And I couldn't agree with you more. And when you say libertarians, I think you're meaning like more along the lines of the Libertarian Party, not libertarians, big tent that includes anarchists, correct?
I also will include those who say that they're anarchists as well, because I think that they're still fading in this perspective that the individual matters no matter what, regardless. It's all individualism, but they're missing the piece. Yes, we're all unique individuals, sure, but you're missing the piece of relationship. That's the problem.
Well, I mean, the key to the individual as a point of power, right? Has to do with the fact that only humans can act, only individuals can act.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that our actions can happen in a vacuum of human contact and still be fulfilling. Right.
I think that's where I mean, I think that's where the issue is with like libertarian anarchy, is like they forget that the individual is there as a centerpiece because we're all individuals, but then they forget you need people. you need people. Like you need to actually come together and work with each other.
I'm going to push back, and maybe it's just a fight on words and definition, but
quite possibly.
I consider myself an agorist. I believe in agorism and its principles, and I believe in the non-aggression principle, and taxes should be voluntary. There should be no tax. Right. So those are all individualistic ideals, individualism as a first principle. Having said that,
they're pro-family ideals too.
Yeah. And having said that, that doesn't mean as an individual, it's all, narcissist. It's not that at all. It's more along the lines of, as an individual, I'm going to use my individual rights, my rights that I are born with, to fight against the state. And when I hear the word libertarian, I only think of one thing. I think of the Libertarian Party. And I don't think that anarchists are libertarians. That's my opinion. But maybe it's just a fight on it's a choice of words and definitions.
Well, I would be more inclined to say that libertarians as a class are probably fighting for what they see as individualism, right? But really, what they're looking for is an individualist perspective on the limitation of human action, right? It doesn't really have anything to do with how you live once you are free of monolithic global control by a centralized entity, right? All of that stuff. There are definitely some people out there who are, pure Ayn Randian, automatistic individuals, and some of them are very happy that way, right?
We pray for them,
whether or not they admit that they're drawing support from the people around them. That is still happening. Right. The question to me about the political point is more about coercion,
right?
And what coercion, especially when implemented across a scale of a population the size of the United States,
right,
does to compress away possible choices that people can make, and make it so that futures that we could otherwise reach are completely unreachable. And to me, that's the real individualism, is that within our own consciences that we have the freedom to choose.
Boy, that's so well said, Greg. I couldn't agree with you more. Amen, brother, and amen to you, Zach, my brother from another mother. But there you go. This brings up to the next point of, in one way, you could define Amish as being anarchist because they don't involve themselves in matters of the state.
They're very apolitical,
so that's how I see anarchist as being apolitical. And that
from the standpoint of
apoliticalness
politics,
is where that is the individualist in myself. Is I'm saying I'm here to defend my rights as an anarchist.
Yeah, but there's also no argument that the Amish are secretly an extremist, atomist, Ayn Randian sect of people who don't impose any expectations on their fellow community members.
You don't know anything about the Amish mafia, do you? No.
They have deep expectations of each other socially, and they're enforced socially. They don't need federal laws to make people behave Amish in an Amish community. Right. And that's true of any kind of community, including a community of people who just want to have a giant Ayn Rand book club as their only social engagement.
Here's another good question to go back, because we got now questions in the channel. I want to make sure we have time for it. What about Massey for president in 2028? Possible? I think he might run. There's still a lot of time to decide and determine this, but
he's going to. We all know how likely it is he'll win.
Yeah, I think it's very unlikely. Very unlikely. It splits the Republicans, that's for sure.
Maybe he'll bring back the Bull Moose Party.
That'll be funny.
We can only hope.
I think all of us would agree that he has a very low chance of winning. And honestly, so does Marco Rubio, so does J.D. Vance. Anyone on the Republican side has a very low chance of winning, in my opinion, for 2020.
All I can say is when Massey runs and he creates the new order of the Bull Moose Party, just remember, we're gonna get a progressive, an extreme progressive, in 2028, because that's what happened when the Republican Party was split back then.
Yep.
So we agree that Massey probably has a low chance of winning in 2028. But if he did, what would at least 4 years of blanket vetoes be like? Would it help the country?
We would go back to, first off, there'll probably be a lot. You'll see a lot of hurt. Yeah, and that's inevitable, because the political vetoes are going to lead to market mechanisms that are going to inevitably lead to some hardship that we've never seen before. Although you could argue that we're seeing that now because of political mechanisms. But the fact is it'll be very Jacksonian, I guess you could say, where there's going to be a lot of hardship, both politically and economically, based upon the Dr. No type scenario. The veto this and the veto that.
Well, I mean, imagine if you didn't appoint any executive heads to administrative agencies at all, just to neutralize them for the entire time, for example.
And that could happen.
I'll get around to my appointments eventually.
I think we could really possibly see this actually come out into the woodwork very soon, because I saw just recently that Turkey has liquidated all its federal holdings of federal debt.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if it starts with one country, but if 2, 3, it's a trend, we could really see some real fireworks in Washington.
Yeah, it's the BRICS lineup. Financially, it's the choosing of sides pre-World War III. Financially, that's my. This is a question from the Legacy Right. What if Massey ran for state gov and worked towards national divorce? Do you think he would? I don't think he will. I think he's a statist. He ran for Congress. He believes in the federal government. I don't think there's any kind of separatist, secessionist, bone in his body, in my opinion.
I don't think a national divorce is even on the table, period. I think each state is too embedded within the federal debt system that, I mean, how do you go away with eliminating, like, you'd have to, without splintering into chaos and honestly potentially war, how do you just naturally just divorce from the federal debt system without that debt, without at least a portion of that debt that state is a part of having to be paid back? That's what I would actually ask.
I agree with you, Zach. And even blockchain can't help you with that. Anyone else before I move on to the next one? All right, next one. this person, this TLS2SN, Tulesin.
Hey,
I don't know how you pronounce it, but has Ayn Rand work been converted into a cult?
hey, I was part of Savage Nation at one time too.
Oh, there you go.
Savage Nation, WWE. Right.
Mike,
I always liked
Michael Savage.
I like Ayn Rand's
Michael
work,
Savage.
honestly. I like her writing, but the group of people around it are definitely a cult.
Yeah.
By all, let's define cult first before we decide what whether or not it is, right?
Let's ask AI. Cults are social groups which have unusual and often extreme religious, spiritual, or philosophical beliefs and rituals. Extreme devotion to a particular person, in this case Ayn Rand, object, or goal is another characteristic often described cults. There you go. So, yeah.
You said devotion of a person.
Yeah.
Of a god.
I loved her concepts. I've often hoped that someone who had developed, say, free energy had actually, because if you know, for those who have read the book or seen the movie, you know, often it really describes where we're at today.
It does. It does.
It's and it was written in the late 50s, early 60s.
Atlas Shrugged would have been no, it would have been the
late 40s, early 50s.
Yeah, the 30s was when she started working on the thing that became Atlas Shrugged.
Yep. And the main character is basically Lysander Spinner.
Yeah.
Really? That
1957. It was first published in 1957. Yeah, she certainly started writing it long before then. But
yeah.
Its first publication was 1957.
Yep.
The role of man's mind in existence.
That's in the words of Ludwig von Mises. That silly little Russian Jewish girl.
You know, people always discount that. You know, it's funny to me when you talk about Ayn Rand with anybody on the sort of the woke left. They immediately jump to like this hatred, but you can immediately spin back one of their arguments that they always make with her, because it's like, well, first off, that's no way to acknowledge a woman's voice, right? You've literally just silenced a woman. She's already oppressed. Geez, right? So there's that point. And then number two, right? She immigrated here from a country where she was, actively being targeted by the leadership because her family was part of the kulak class.
Right.
And so they came after everything that she owned and stuck her under pretty heavy monitoring, right? Like to the point where like there were government bureaucrats reading what she studied in the college she was barely permitted to attend.
Oppression.
And so getting out of that country and coming here and writing this book is really more of a journey of an underprivileged person traveling through a hostile society and then achieving something despite great struggle. And this to me is amusing for obvious reasons because they just don't like the story. They don't like the woman. Which to me is
literally what they preach, the leftist narrative of oppression through the social construct of nations. So they're against, they allegedly are against this oppression, create this narrative of victim mentality and blame the man for bringing like lowly minorities like women down to their knees, but yet they're the first to basically just slap her away and say, no, she's wrong. In more choice words than that, but
exactly. It's always been kind of the same kind of censorship. If you really look back at the past, we aren't actually really experiencing anything all that new. Even in the 1910, 1911 congressional cycle, there was talk of a law banning modified photographs.
Mm-hmm.
It
That's
literally
pretty
reads like an anti-generative AI policy, way before there were even computers. The language actually almost mirrors what they are proposing today for deepfakes.
Time for 2 more questions, real quick. Do you think members of Iran's cult, I'm using in quotations, cult, would embrace the umbrella promise?
If they're truly embraced to Ayn Rand's philosophy, I honestly think, I think that they would embrace something very similar to an umbrella promise.
I don't think they would.
Why don't you think they would?
Ultimately, Randians are not anarchists or anarcho-capitalists. They are state
objectivists.
Yeah, right. But I don't see the umbrella. That's the problem I have with the umbrella promise.
Well, but the Randian point of view would suggest that representative democracy, if you get elected as a representative, makes you owe a sort of debt of honor to the people to vote your conscience rather than their will. Right? The conscience of the representative in a Randian world would matter more than the will of the district. Right, because what you would be setting up is a collective push to overcome the will of an otherwise individualist member, right?
That's
I don't get it.
The example case would be like if you got Massey under the umbrella promise and asked him to vote yes on a military spending bill by the appropriate consensus, fund the war in Ukraine, Massey, while feeding money into SBF's pockets or whatever, right? Like. Your audience, your district says you must vote yes, and what would Ayn Rand say in that circumstance, right? She would say, Massey should vote no, regardless of what the people say. Right? The Randian view is that what the people say should not be taken into consideration by individuals when they decide.
I think if we're not a rational society though, and I think if you take into account her beliefs on a more rationale and cognitive identity, I think it could work. I think the umbrella promise could certainly work under that perspective. But I mean, since we live in a society that's acting out more in an irrational basis, then you know what? I mean, you're probably right, Greg. I mean, they probably wouldn't get behind it. You have to have a rationale. And if we do not act with a rational mind and with reason, then we're just going to be in the same boat.
Let me push back. Iran did not like the idea that big corporations were controlling the state.
That is true.
And it wanted to subvert big corporations controlling the state. And the umbrella promise gives voice to the people and does just that. It subverts big corporations controlling the legislature.
Well, except for the fact that it was corporations in Atlas Shrugged was kind of incidental, right? It was more about the governmentality, the combination of the two, right? The fact that there
fascism.
The fact that there were these companies that were being offered advantages in exchange for embracing anti-competitive, anti-market type of policies, the dog-eat-dog rule, for example, or anti-dog-eat-dog rule or whatever. Or that ridiculous rule they made where you can only own one vertical in a business and you couldn't own the end-to-end integrated supply chain, right? Like, by the way, if you've never read Atlas Shrugged, it's mostly about business stuff.
I'm gonna subvert Ayn Rand's philosophy and say, I agree that you should have some sort of representative. We should have a king. Behold your king.
Ayn Rand was not monarchist. They weren't monarchists.
No, she wasn't.
Real quick,
surprised that she was an atheist.
Andrew, what do you think? Do you think Irandians would support the umbrella promise?
I mean, honestly, just from what you told me about the umbrella, I haven't done a lot of research on it, but I think she would definitely, or the people that follow her work would definitely be going and trying to diversify and try to find a different alternative. Yeah. I don't think that she would push for it.
I would also make a revised comment on that. Like, I don't think that they wouldn't support it now. I think that back when she was still active and writing, I think it would have been hard to find support for it among Randians. But I think today, enough of them are individualist pragmatists rather than individualist absolutists to such a degree that the minor compromise in sort of the individual fidelity of a representative would be worth making, right? Because this would subvert the system that is ending individualism at a larger scale.
Right. All right, let's move on to this question. Thanks, gentlemen. If the algorithmic rise of excess advertisements and no really way to get around this issue on platforms like YouTube, how do you think we could implement a workaround? Who likes to go first? We're going to have to be quick. We got like
Andrew. You have been called. Andrew. Acknowledge me.
Oh man. Well, I know that there's like I've talked about in the past, there's it's called SLP tokens on Bitcoin Cash, and maybe you could try to take that idea, but use that, but have it mined in a process to that way that it's not so concentrated, and you have a little bit more security in the process as well, so that you could also stop censorship.
Okay, what say you, Greg? Be quick, please.
Well, I think that the workaround is probably more probably an AI based approach, in the sense that people could probably program local browsers of their own that can still access the various protocols. Like you can build an app and sell it on the App Store that all it does is provide a new interface on top of YouTube, right? Like you can still pass through the YouTube search results and stream, as I understand it. I don't know if you can still do that, but at one point you could. I think the kind of workarounds we need are people taking control of their own computers directly as individuals, and LLMs offer a way for people to do that directly through code, right? You can, without knowing anything other than what you want your computer to do, create a program that does just that for yourself. It might not be the sort of thing you could sell widely. It might only work on, at the scale of one machine, but at least it's a way to take matters into your own hands, such that you could, for instance, build a player that still seems to all parties on the other side of it to be playing ads, right? The targeted ones or whatever. But in reality, all it's doing is hiding that in the background and not showing it to anybody. Like, you could have that. I'm not sure if the iOS App Store would let you keep it there for very long, but at the very least, it could be a web app, right? Like, there's tons of ways people can work around specific platformization based problems. And while AI is definitely a platform, right? If you want to jump into it without any knowledge about how to set up like an open source model or something like that, you can still do it, right? Like go on DuckDuckGo and pull up Duck AI. It'll write you little programs.
This is a great question. Zach, what do you think?
That's pretty much my answer. You stole my answer, Greg. Basically, that's pretty much what you got to do in order to find a workaround. You got to take back your own code. You got to take back your own systems, and you got to figure out, because I mean, for the most part, like when it comes to our digital regime here with the internet and all that, like most of these platforms have figured out ways to subvert the ad blockers. So like you can't really use, like, say, like take Brave, for example. Like you can't get on Brave anymore and go to YouTube and have its automatic ad blocker on and block out the ads for YouTube. Like you have to turn off the ad blocker if you want to run YouTube. So we have to figure out a way, and you can do this on your own, and you can use AI to help you do this with the code, to just formulate ways to effectively block yourself from getting all these ads, excessive algorithmic ads in your poured in your direction, while simultaneously trick their system and their servers to think that you're still getting those same ads being fed. So that would be the way that we would have to go. So I don't know if blockchain could do it. Maybe. I mean, you could do something on the blockchain, but go ahead, William.
I'm gonna actually add to all three of you what you just said. The mining makes sense. What Andrew talked about. The idea here about ads, I would want a site that had no ads or gave me the option or to watch ads or not watch ads. And I would want a site where I would want to reward YouTube and its algorithm that's pushing a particular bias. And so I think the alternative answer is a separate new site that gives you the option. Do you want to watch ads or not watch ads? Do you want to watch ads? And if you don't want to watch ads, either A, pay to play. That's what we can do right now on YouTube. You can pay them so you don't have to watch ads. Or you could maybe do, if din.social had a video site, that would be perfect because in the algorithm, it's mining. There's only 1,000 tokens mined every day, and people are competing for those tokens, and those tokens have value. If they grow in value, then you don't need ads. So you have an ad-free location, and there is no algorithm other than what becomes popular, what becomes trending, but you can still subscribe to channels. I think that's the perfect answer. That's the solution, in my opinion. But it takes money to compete with something like YouTube.
Yep.
So, we're at that 1 hour and 56-minute mark. That was a great question. I apologize. I wish we had given that a lot more time. Because
now we got into the politics.
Yeah, so much there. But for everyone watching, we appreciate you. And wherever you're watching, be sure to give a like and a follow and subscribe to their channel, because we're streaming this on multiple locations. Congratulations again to World Blockchain Roundtable. Last week's show was a good one, 5-year anniversary, and DAOs, Decentralized Autonomous Organizations. Definitely go back and watch that one. You can hear the history of World Blockchain Roundtable, how it came into being as well.
51 episodes till the 6th anniversary.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Let me get that question off the screen here. All right, gentlemen, we have like 2 minutes. Greg, where can we find you? What's new with you? And by the way, I was listening to your recent post. It's really good stuff. I like listening to it.
Awesome. Glad to hear it. Well, everybody should head over to designheretic.substack.com and check out my latest and greatest, which William was talking about listening to. It is an end-to-end sort of capstone of the entire series. So, and to date, it's probably the best end-to-end articulation of the whole idea that I've ever put together. Best being best because it's also the shortest one that I've done while remaining end-to-end. But this one's especially interesting because it gets into Fisher-Burress information, which explains quantum possibilities as they're live, which is really fascinating. So if you want to check that out and dig into the weeds, this is where you go. Cool. And that'll be me for today.
Thanks, Greg. Andrew, where can we follow you? What's new in your world, sir?
Hey, check us out tomorrow. I believe 11 Eastern, 10 Central, or possibly noon, 11 Central. We're going to have Greg on. We'll keep going over his work and have a good time. And thanks for watching. Thanks for yeah, I already got it pulled up to
some Ben and Casa Dowker Glazer action.
Zach, what's going on with you, sir? Where can we find you?
Dive into Greg, basically warping your minds and expanding the universe through continuation geometry. And if you want to, you can check out illogicaltheology.substack. If you'd like to go through the philosophical aspect of that, the metaphysical, into his geometry. Other than that, check us out tomorrow morning for The Legacy Rite as we continue to decipher. the universe.
Cool.
Heck
All
yeah.
right. Well, that
Wait a second.
concludes this week's World Blockchain Roundtable. Again, thank you everybody for watching and subscribing. Check out the Legacy Right. Last week was good, and I apologize, sir. I was on the trail, and that was a little distracting.
You know, that
it was
wasn't
good.
really distracting so much as a great example of persistence and decoherence. We made really great hay of that.
Anyway,
Yes.
we got to go.
We gotta
Thank you so
split.
much for
See you
watching,
guys.
everybody. Take care. See ya.